We have a question from Sharil Dari. Dave, I have a 2010 ZX10R and I'd like to set it up for track days. Currently I've set sag at 35 millimeters in the front and 35 millimeters in the rear. Coming out of the turn while opening up the throttle, the bike tends to run wide. I have lowered the triple clamps, i.e. the forks, about 5 millimeters and rebound is set by bouncing the bike. Is my sag setting correct? And what can I do to minimize on the throttle understeer? I weigh 88 kilograms with gear and I'm running Michelin Power Pures with a 190/55 rear. Hope you can help. Well, Sharil, we just did one of those at the shop yesterday that had 100 miles on it. So there's a couple things here that you're fighting. One, the big piston fork is very, very stiff in terms of install preload on the top out spring and the main spring. At 88 kilograms, I'd probably take all of the preload out, set compression at 5 turns out and rebound at 4 turns out, and leave your fork position where it is. Now when you push on the bike, the shock is actually a hell of a lot softer than the front end is. So I would change your sag numbers in the rear to 25 millimeters simply because the spring is so soft, and then set compression for high and low speed at 2 out and put all the rebound damping in. Now that should give you a better chassis position in terms of geometry and also in regards to sag with your on-track experiment. You also said you have a 190/55 rear on it, and in regards to that, because of circumference differences in tires, you may be experiencing some geometry problems in regard to understeer. However, knowing the bike, knowing the forks that you have and the way the shock works in regards to that, I think you're essentially suffering from, firstly, a geometry problem, secondly, slightly incorrect sag numbers in that the front is too stiff, it's overpowering the rear, so once you get into the gas, the back is sinking, causing the front to raise, and you're experiencing understeer once you get on the throttle. So I would look seriously, as we've mentioned in a previous Ask Dave segment on the BMW 1000RR versus the Kawasaki ZX10, I would seriously look at it, taking your shock off, bringing it into a suspension professional and having heavier shock oil put into that shock because the rebound valving is inadequate. That is going to help you a ton in regards to the rear shock. It's also very cheap, 150 bucks is what we charge for a service on a shock. You don't mention if you changed gearing, but I'm assuming that's stock, so that's fine. So that would take that piece out of the equation. So I think what you'll find is when you get those settings put into the bike should steer better once you get on the throttle, because the electronics package on that bike really is top shelf. It's superb. So that deals with that. The other part I would ask you to do on the track with Pilot Power Pures is actually put some tires on it. It's obviously prohibitive to put a second set of wheels on the bike with just track tires on it, but I would ask you to put some decent rubber on that bike. I've ridden the Pures on the track. They're good if you're in C group or a slow B intermediate. They're fine, they'll get you around the track and they'll last, and they're a good compromise tire. But with 1000, I would strongly encourage you, even if they're race takeoffs, to put those on when you go to the track. There's just too much horsepower there, and I'd hate to see you high side yourself on the bike. Hopefully that answered your question. If you have questions for me, please send them to Dave Moss Tuning via Facebook, or alternatively leave them here on YouTube at Catalyst Reaction SBW. Thanks very much.